Hello and welcome, guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this series, we are going to talk about the JavaScript. Basically, this is my first video about the JavaScript. Let's begin with the JavaScript. Eventually, in the future, we are going to see uh, different topics about the JavaScript. I'll make a videos on different topics in JavaScript, so you can watch that also. My videos are going to be pretty interesting. I'll be coming with the interview questions, which will be very helpful for you guys. So please ignore all the background noise, and let's begin with this video. So in this video we are going to talk about the data types in JavaScript and declaring variables in JavaScript. So basically there are 8 different types of data types in JavaScript. So main are like primitive types, and the second one is non-primitive types. And the primitive types, undefined, null, boolean, string, begin, number and symbol comes, whereas in non-primitive types, objects are the data types. So let's begin with understanding one by one. So what is the undefined? We'll check that. So undefined, when the variable is declared but not assigned, then it has a value of undefined, and the type is also called as undefined. So whenever the variable is declared, it is declared, but it is not assigned any value in the so in a JavaScript there is a special keyword called as undefined. So that special keyword undefined is assigned to that variable, and if the special keyword that of undefined is assigned to that variable, we call that data type as undefined. So the second one is null. It means invalid value of the value which doesn't exist. It may, like normally in other programming language, whatever null defines, it is the same in JavaScript. So null without any value, or the value which doesn't even exist, it is called as null. And the third one is boolean. The same, boolean has a true or false values. It represents the logical entities. So whatever the type, like whatever the variable or the variable we are going to declare, if it has the two types like true or false, its data type becomes boolean. So the fourth one is string. A series of character that is written with a single or double quotes can be called as a string data type. So whatever characters written within the written within the double quotes or single quotes can be called as a string. So we are going to see the examples in the next slide, but in this slide we are just going to check the definitions of this. Yeah, so the next one is begin. The data type is used to store a number which are above the limitation of a number data type. It can store a large integer and can be represented by adding n to an integral literal. So begin is a kind of data type in JavaScript that is above the limitation of a number data. So we have another data type called as number data type. Above that limitation of number data type, we have uh, like if the number if the number goes above the limit of that number data type, we call it as begin, and we can represent it as adding n, then this n at the last of that character. So number is written. So the next one is number. A number that is written with or without a decimal can be called as a number data type. So number is like a normal number which you write, like for example, where a is equals to 10. So a will be which type? Yeah, correct, number type. So the next one is symbol. It is a new data type introduced in ES6 version of a JavaScript. It is used to store an anonymous and unique value. So basically this is the new data type introduced in ES6 version of a JavaScript. It helps us to store an anonymous or a unique values. And the last one is object. Objects are used to store the collection of the data. So if we want to store a lot of data, we can store it in object. Yeah, so here are some examples which we can see, and with this example we can understand the data type in more detail. So the first one is type of Akshay Kumar. What so this series of characters stored within a string, double quote string, is known as a, yeah, correct, its data type is a string, so it will return a string as it is written in a double quotes, right? So this data type is called as a string. So if we check the type of 3.14, if we check it, it will return a number as it represents a number. So type of true will be Boolean. Yeah. So otherwise if type of it will be false, it will also return a Boolean, because Boolean has it only two values, that is true and false. And the type of this big number, obviously there is a n at the end of this number, so it represents a big int. And the type of undefined is as I already said, the type of undefined will be undefined itself, and the type of null will be written a object, and the type of symbol will be, it returns always a symbol. So yeah, now let's see how to declare a variable in JavaScript. We'll also be seeing some examples how to declare some variables in JavaScript, and also while declaring the variables, we'll also see what is the difference between var, let, and const in a different scope. So small and I'll also provide a small table. It will help us to understand what is the exact difference, and you can also refer it whenever you want. It is very easy to understand. So let's start with var, let, and const. So var, let, and const are the different ways to declare a variable in JavaScript. So these are the three different types, like how we can declare a variables in JavaScript. So there is one note. So first we'll read that note. The variable names can be made up of numbers, letters, or dollar symbol, or even with underscore, but may not contain any spaces or start with a number. So in this slide we are going to see, like, there are three different types, like three types which we can declare a variable in JavaScript, that is var, let, and const. And if we declare a variable using this var, let, and const, there are some rules which we must follow. That rules is if the variable name can be made up of number, letter, or dollar, or even underscore, but it cannot contain a space or start with a number. For example, we can write a var my name. Yeah, this is the correct symbol because we are not starting with any space or any number, so this is correct. And the second example is my name 5 sorry, let my 5 name. Yeah, so it contains a number, but this is fine, so we can contain. So uh, yeah, we can add a number in it, so it is fine. This is const your name. Yeah, this is also correct. Var 5 my name. Yeah, so this is wrong because we are adding number at the start of our variable name, and which is not allowed. So now let's see what is the difference between var, let in a global space. So again, let's start. What is a global space? So anything we declare, there are basically three types of space. uh, Scope, we can say scope. There are three types of scope in JavaScript, that is local scope, global scope, and block scope. So anything declared within the curly braces are known as a block scope. Anything declared within the function itself is known as a function scope, and anything that is declared at a global level, that is outside of a function or outside of any block, it is known as a global space or a global scope. So we can see the difference. What is the difference between var and let in a global space? So let's start. Var variable 1 equals to 45, let variable 2 equals to 38. So let's dive into the function. We have declared the function using var versus let global. Okay, under this function we are just consoling log. We are doing console.log variable 1 and console.log variable 2, and what will be the and after that we are just going to call this. Okay, yeah, after calling it, it will go in here, it will call this it will call our function var versus let global. So what is the value of a variable 1? It will refer, as we are not declaring it in a function scope, it will check it in a global scope. So yeah, we find a variable in a variable 1 in a global scope. So what is the value? 45. So it will console log 45, and then it will move to the next console.log variable 2. It will again find the variable in a local scope, it doesn't find it, so that's why it goes in a global space. It finds the variable which is 38, and it will give us the value 38. And the thing is here, one thing we can notice here is that both the variable can be accessed anywhere since they are declared in a global space. So whichever the value you declare in a global space, we can access it anywhere in our program. So even if we can access it in our functional scope, we can access it in a block scope, anywhere in our program we can access it. So see, we can see it here, console.log variable 1 returns us 45, but if we do console.log global dot variable 2 returns as undefined. So you might be thinking, right now I have said that we can access the variable which is declared in a global space anywhere in our program, and why we are getting this undefined error over here for variable 2. So this is because variable 2, it is declared with the data type as a let. So with the let, any variable which you are declaring in a global space, it is not actually in a global space, it is kind of it has a different space. So it is called as a block space or some different space rather than a global space. So even if we do global dot variable 2, we cannot access it because it is not in a global space, it has the different space. So that is, var has the global space, var we can access, var we can store it in a global space. Let also we can access it anywhere, but it doesn't store in it. The let doesn't get stored in a global space, it has a different scope. So the difference between var and let in a functional scope. So let's see. Please ignore the background noise, the kids are playing, as the park is near to me, so the kids playing noise will come. So let's start with this. Yeah, let's start with the function var versus let function. So yeah, we have declared the function var versus let in a functional scope. So this is our function name. In this we have declared the color 1 with the let variable, that is red, var color 2 with a yellow color. So console.log color 1, will we be able to access the color 1? So no, it will throw us an error. Why it is throwing us an error, I'll tell you later. So first we'll see the second console log, that is console log color 2. Will we be able to access this? Yes, tell me. No, it throws an error 2. So throws an error, color 2 is not defined. Yes, so I'll tell you the reason why we are getting this error. So as a let is a functional scope, let has a functional scope. uh, so whatever we define, if we define a let variable, if we define a variable using let in a function scope, we cannot access that variable outside of that function. So we are right now over here, we are trying to access it. right now over here we are trying to access it using we are trying to access it outside the function, so that's why we are getting the error. And same with the var, because var also has a functional scope, so we cannot access the var inside outside the function, so both our console logs are giving the error. So remember, let has a functional scope, var 2 has a functional scope. Okay, yeah. Difference between var, let in a block scope. So here comes the block scope. So I told you already, whatever is there in the curly, whatever code we write in a curly braces is known as a block scope. That code is known as block scope. That means that code is under the block scope. So in this curly braces, var variable 1 has a block scope. So when we try to access that variable 1 under outside the block, what is the error what is the output we are getting? Let's check it. So console.log variable 1, we get the output as 11, 22, 33, 44, same as what we declared under inside the block. Why? Because variable doesn't have a block scope. Let has a block scope. That's why when we try to access the variable 2, which is declared using let, we will be getting the error, and we get an error like throws variable sorry, it should be variable 2 over here, so variable 2 is not defined, we will be getting that error. So from this slide what I got is let has a block scope, variable doesn't have a block scope. That's why variable declared using var keyword we will be able to access it outside the block scope, and the variable declared using the let keyword will not be able to access that variable outside of block scope. So difference between var and let in a block scope. So now here comes the block scope. Another example. So let's see this example. This is some kind of different, like something different example. You will be it will be interesting to understand. So let's start with it. It is for let I is equals to 0, I is less than 2, I plus plus. So this is a normal for loop, and whatever we kind of do something operation over here, and then we try to access the I outside this block. So what will be the output? Will be getting an error or what? Yeah, we will be getting an error because in the last slide I told you that let has a block scope, so we cannot access any variable outside that block. If it is declared inside the block, we cannot access it outside the block, so that's why we will be getting an error. So, and let's see the same kind of example but with the different keyword, that is var keyword. So using the var we are trying to access that keyword. We are using a same for loop with the var keyword. Okay, var j is equal to 0, j is less than 2, then I plus plus will will we be able to access it? So yes, we will be able to access it because var doesn't have a block scope. We will be able to access it outside the block scope. Yeah. So let's see what is the const keyword. We got the let and var, correct? We have seen the let and var. Now we'll see the const keyword. What is the const keyword? So variable with the const keyword behaves exactly like a variable declared with the let keyword, with only one difference: any variable declared with the const keyword cannot be reassigned. So um, so variable declared with the var keyword, we can, this is the small difference I am going to tell you right now. That is, a variable declared with the var keyword, we can reassign it, and with the same with the let also, variable declared with the let keyword we can reassign it, but variable declared with the const keyword we cannot reassign it. Let's see example, that const a is equals to name Neeraj. So this is the object we are declaring over here, and we have given the name as a Neeraj, and again with the const keyword. Okay, remember this, we are using a const right now. So over here we are trying to access, we are changing it again, a is equals to address India. So we will be getting an error. Definitely we will be getting an error because we are using a const and then we are trying to change it. So reassigning it. So reassign doesn't help with the const. So that's why we will be getting an error. So over here we can see a dot, and the next example we can see is a dot name equals to Akshay. No error is thrown. Yeah. So you might be thinking, right now I told you we cannot reassign it, but we are trying to reassign it and we are not getting even an error. So this is not true. We cannot exactly reassign the object, but we can change the content inside the object. Like a dot name, we can change the name. We cannot change the property, but we can definitely change the value. So a dot name, we are changing the value to Akshay, so no error is thrown. So let's see the object with the non-primitive data type, sorry, with the primitive one. Right now we have seen this is the non-primitive one. This is the objects are the non-primitive data type. Remember we just studied it in the last slide. Yes. So let's see with the const y is equals to 70th. Okay, and the same we are trying to reassign it. Y is equals to 64. We will be getting a error. So let's read this. In the code above, although we can change the value of a property inside a variable declared with a const here, we cannot completely reassign it the variable itself. That's what I was telling you. We cannot reassign the variable itself. We can change the property like value inside it, but we cannot reassign it completely. So remember, in a const keyword is declaring only once. We cannot redeclare or reassign the value. Okay, so this is the table I was talking about. It will be very helpful for you to understand it. So first we'll difference between declaring variables using var, let and const. So let's revise it what we have studied it in our this video. So let's start global global scope. So the const keyword is, can we access the const keyword in a global scope? Yes. Can we access it? No, we cannot. The let in is let is a global scope. Let doesn't have any global scope because in a last slide also I told you let and const doesn't have access in a global scope. They have different kind of scope. So so we can see in functional scope. Const has a functional scope. Yes, let has a functional scope. Var has a functional scope. Const has a block scope. Yes, we have const has a block scope. Let also has a block scope, but var doesn't have a block scope. And const can be reassigned. No. Let can be reassigned. No. Yeah, sorry. Let can be reassigned. Yes. Var can also be reassigned. So it is a very helpful table. You can just refer to it whenever you want. And thanks for watching my video. Do like, comment, share and subscribe, and do comment whatever your doubts are there, or whatever didn't go well, or whatever was well in this video. If you have any doubts, please ask me. I'll be answering it in your I'll answer it in the comment section. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks. Bye.